Today's passage is James chapter 2, verse 1 to 13. It starts by instructing us not to show favouritism. It refers particularly to favouring and focusing our attention to the rich over the poor. I don't think in our time and culture it is so much about rich and poor, although I'm sure it can be. But I think most of us probably have a tendency to speak to, spend time with, sit next to certain people who we perhaps relate more towards than others. It then talks about loving your neighbour as yourself. The parable of the Good Samaritan answers the question, who is my neighbour? Essentially, it is whoever you come across, or you could say whoever God puts in your path, who would benefit from your help, your welcome, your inclusion, your kind words, your interest. The Samaritan and the man he helped wouldn't have felt they had much in common. The Jews and the Samaritans didn't have a good relationship, but actually they did have a lot in common. A belief in the same God, some of the same beliefs and principles relating to this, a belief that a saviour would be coming. Verse 27 of the previous chapter, James chapter 1, says that religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. In James chapter 2, verse 15 to 16, it says, suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? Similarly, Jesus spoke in Matthew 25, verse 40, saying, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. In reference to those words, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me. Today's passage then finishes with the words, speak and act as those who are going to be judged by the law that gives freedom. Because judgment without mercy will be shown to anyone who has not been merciful. Mercy triumphs over judgment. So we're to love others, spend time with others, blessing them without judging them. As it says in 1 John chapter 4, verse 19, we love because he first loved us. If we remain unsure regarding who in our circumstances God is calling us to, then look at James chapter 1, verse 4 to 5. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. So what does this mean for us at church, at work, socially, in our neighbourhoods? Firstly, let's seek God over who he has put in our lives or in our paths. These might be people we see regularly, or people we see as a one-off, such as a visitor to church or someone we sit next to on a bus. It might be buying someone food or offering to pray for them, but it could also be something very small and simple, like smiling at someone, saying hello, giving them a word of encouragement, or simply making them feel welcomed, valued, cared for. Some of the people who have had a big impact on me have been strangers who have welcomed me at churches I've visited. So I went travelling with a friend after my A-levels. We flew to Sydney and decided to find a church on our first full day, which was a Sunday. We found a tiny Salvation Army church. There probably wasn't another person under the age of 70, but we felt so welcomed and included and cared for. So it was really wonderful. My first permanent job after university was in Southend in Essex. I moved there for the job, didn't know anyone else there. I visited a vineyard church a few times before actually settling on another church to be my permanent church while I was there. And at this vineyard church, there was a guy there who spoke to me, welcomed me, encouraged me, prayed with me. And again, it was a bit of a challenging time, and it was a massive help for me, massive support. And the first time I came to Frontline, the girl on the welcome team made me feel welcome, immediately introduced me to other people. I became very happy straight away with Frontline, settled there straight away, and 8.5 years later, I'm still here. So what we do and say can have a massive impact on people's lives. So let's make a habit as individuals and as a church of seeking God over opportunities to welcome, to encourage, and to bless those who he brings into our lives.